Hey tarot friends, it's Dustin from A Modern Metaphysic Man, and I thought today we could hang out and take a trip through the Tarot Grand Luxe by Ciro Marchetti. This is a recently released deck from US Game Systems, which is Ciro Marchetti's last tarot deck that he is publishing, allegedly. I do have several of his other decks. I have two of his self-published decks, the Tarot Royale and the Tarot Decoratif, as well as two of his other mass-produced decks, which include the Tarot of Dreams and the Legacy of the Divine Tarot, and they're all really lovely decks. These aren't decks I've done reviews on before, and so if you're interested in checking those out, be sure to drop a comment in the comment section below and let me know. As always, I'll put links to all the information about where you can pick up this deck and learn more about its creator in the description box, so be sure to check that out. And you'll also find down there all of my social media links where you can reach out and get in touch with me, as well as a link to my personal website where you can book a reading with me or get one of my handwritten tarot by post readings. And if you want to support the channel, that's kind of the best way to do it. So yeah, let's talk about the Tarot Grand Luxe. Ciro Marchetti seems to have quite the divide. Most people, well, the general consensus is that people either really love him or not so much, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. His artwork is a digital style, and it's very reminiscent to me of like mid 90s fantasy kind of art, which I grew up on, and so I really love. And I really appreciate Ciro, although he's not a tarot reader himself. My understanding is he returned to the tarot time and time again, not only probably because it provided him a living, but from an artistic standpoint, it expresses not only a world and a story, but also, sort of the human condition. And that was something that was very attractive to him as a creator. And he always puts a lot of symbolism and meaning, not only from a tarot and occult perspective, but from an art historical perspective, which I just really appreciate. So yeah, let's dive into this. The Tarot Grand Luxe, it comes in this really nice two-piece box, and I've said it before on my channel, US Games is really stepping up their packaging. This is phenomenal. Like, US Games, if you're watching, bravo. As you can see, it features some of the artwork around the sides. On the back, it says, popular digital artist Ciro Marchetti has crafted the evocative Tarot Grand Luxe out of his own creative imaginings. Based primarily on the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot system, the lavish details in Tarot Grand Luxe also incorporate references to the Tarot d'Armase, as well as other historic symbols and archetypes. In the 56-page illustrated booklet, Ciro briefly describes the ideas and personal perspectives that inspired each card. And that little bit there is one of the things that I really appreciate about all of his decks, because in a lot of mass-produced decks, we find that the books are written by someone other than the artist themselves. So you really lose out on that personal perspective of why the artist and creator chose the visual imagery and representations that they did. And to me, that's really important. And so that's one of the things that I really love about his decks, is that you get that unique perspective. So yes, it is a nice two-piece box. On the inside, you'll find your guidebook. The inside is just a nice blue paper. And the guidebook is really nice. It's not color, but it's pretty detailed, which is nice. And he does give some really cool little facts about each of the cards, which is really nice. There is a little introduction section. There's not much of a intro to how to read the tarot for newer readers, but I do like his little sort of introduction about the project itself, which is made up of a lot of his favorite artworks that he's produced over the years while creating tarot decks. So that's the guidebook. The card backs and the cards themselves are really nice. So as you can see, you have this sort of Venetian mask, and the sort of the Venetian art style is something that comes up time and time again in his work. and I love it. I love that sort of nod to the Renaissance Italian sort of, you know, motif, I guess is the word I'm looking for. The cards are really nice. The cardstock is that nice standard US Games sort of matte cardstock. It's not super bendy, which is really great. It's a really nice cardstock. The card size is, this is from the Modern Spellcaster's Tarot by Llewellyn, which is a standard tarot size. And so as you can see, it is slightly wider and slightly taller than a standard tarot card. So it's a little bit of a bigger deck. And the artwork on it, again, is sort of digital artwork and collage. And you can kind of get the feeling from this, you know, of that sort of 90s vibe that I talk about. All of his decks I always end up edging in black because they tend to always have sort of a darker border, which I really visually like. So yeah, let's do our walkthrough, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about some of my favorite cards and cards that stood out to me, and what I think about the deck. So this is the Tarot Grand Luxe by Ciro Marchetti. So that is the Tarot Grand Luxe by Marchetti. The artwork in this is just, it's really beautiful. It really takes me back to those classic 90s fantasy novel cover art and art that you saw in metaphysical stores, and even like the fantasy arts that you would see like on posters and things like that. That sort of, digitized style, and I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. The deck is it's really easy to read with. It's really clear. There's not a lot of super deep symbolism that you'd have to research, like in the Thoth or anything like that. But at the same time, it's very rich feeling, which I really love, which is great. Some of the cards that I love, I like the court cards themselves. I just generally adore in this deck because A, of how courtly they feel, but B how well he does at sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, embodying the suit within the court. And he does it just really, really so well, that I really appreciate that. The aces in this deck are equally as beautiful. Especially this Ace of Pentacles, where you have the giant sort of oak tree in the background and the stag in the foreground, and you get that sense of like starting with something to grow into something really strong, which I adore to death. Like I really love it. I love this 10 of Wands. That sense of burden and just feeling overwhelmed, and the 8 of Wands. I just thought this was such a great sort of take on that usual movement where you see him sort of flying, across the card. They're flying at you, which I thought was really cool. The other thing that I really enjoy about this deck is that occasionally you get these bits of the art that kind of come over the border, and so it gives it a real good sense of depth, which I really love, like in this 3 of Wands, which I love the 3 of Wands, that whole idea of like embarking on a journey, and that, but you get this wand that's kind of sticking out over the border there, which I really love that. I love that kind of thing. That play of space is really, really, really good to me. I love the 10 of Cups in this deck just because it has a cat and the cat just looks so content and happy. I really adore that. The 8 of Cups is one of my all-time favorite cards that I go to time and time again when I look at getting new decks, because I've been in this card quite often in my life, and this one I just really loved because he's oftentimes this card is depicted sort of at the edge of water and it's outside, but here he's very clearly leaving not only all of the cups that he's built up, but this whole life, right? He's got this beautiful house that he lives in with these nice doors, and he's kind of walking out into this light, into this sort of new beginning, into a new perspective, into an enlightened state of consciousness, right? So it's not only just about leaving behind material things, but leaving behind past emotions and past thoughts and ideas, right? And so I really, really, really loved this version of the 8 of Cups, and it really resonated a lot with me. That being said, this 6, I love the toys and the swing, and it evokes that inner child in me, which I absolutely adore. The 10 of Swords in this deck is beautiful, to say the least. It's not your traditional where you get the sort of swords stabbing the guy or the figure in the back, which I kind of like, and you get that sense of entrapment, which I really appreciate. I really thought that the Two of Swords was really interesting with the veiled woman here. She's not blindfolded, but she has this veil across her eyes, but you can tell she can very clearly still see through it, which I thought was a very interesting take on that. All of the major arcana are just beautiful. I love this sort of take on Ra for the Sun card. I love how the Moon card is in like these like almost ruins. The Tower is just beautiful. Like it's just, his towers are always beautiful. You know, they're really, really, really gorgeous. I love the sort of the weighing of the feather here. It alluded to, you know, that tradition of Ma'at, weighing your heart against a feather. I thought that was really, really cool. And the Hierophant in this deck is just, it's powerful, and you get that sense of tradition and legacy, especially here. Now my Renaissance art history teacher is going to kill me because I can't remember what this canopy's name is, and it's absolutely beautiful. It is in the Vatican, and this is just very evocative of that place, which is sort of like that heart of tradition, you know, within Western culture. And so I just thought that was really really, really, really interesting. I love the Empress, and I love how her body, the Empress is this tree. I just thought that was really, really beautiful. And likewise, our High Priestess with the sort of triple aspect of the moon behind her with the water. You still get the pillars, you still have that veiled sense. It's just really beautiful. And then his magicians, oftentimes he actually portrays himself in the magician card or the fool card. They're usually self-portraits, which is kind of cool. But I love how, you know, you have the alchemical symbols between his hands, and you have this very alchemy sort of sense of things going on here. But you have the owl, which represents knowledge, which you see again in the High Priestess card, right? On his shoulder. It just, I don't know, it's all very 90s fantasy, and I adore it. So yeah, that is those are some of my favorite cards that really stood out to me. This is honestly probably one of my favorite decks of his. Next to the Tarot Decoratif, which is more of a Marseille one, I really do want to do a review of that. So again, if you want to see reviews of any of the other decks of his that I have, Tarot Decoratif, Tarot Royale, which are the independent versions that I have, and then I have Tarot of Dreams and Legacy of the Divine. Be sure to drop a comment below. Let me know. I'll be sure to bump those up on the list of things that I have that I want to do reviews on. If you have this deck, or if you have any of other of Ciro's decks, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear what you think about it. And yeah, remember, if you enjoyed this video, to make sure that you like, share, subscribe, click the little bell so that you get notifications of when I post new videos. The crazy few weeks that I did have come to an end, so lots more reviews and content to come for the channel. So as always, I super appreciate you guys coming to hang out with me and talk about the tarot. Thank you all so much for your love and support. And as always, remember, everyone is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. So be kind, always. Bye, everybody.